Hello, Patrick here with Urban Carry Holsters, and today we're going to be doing a full field strip and cleaning of the Kahr P40. Now, I reached out to Kahr and asked them what's the P mean, and they got back to me and told me that the P stands for premium. So there you go, little info for you. Like I said, today we're going to be doing a full field strip and cleaning of this firearm. It's a great gun for concealed carry. It's extremely light, weighs in at just 15 ounces unloaded. For now, let's turn it over to Chase so we can do the field strip and cleaning of this firearm.
I'm going to show you how to do a field strip and a proper cleaning of your Kahr P40. Okay, of course, first thing we want to do is make sure that the gun is safe. Okay, what we're going to do is eject the mag. Of course, nothing inside the magazine. We'll open up that slide, and as you can see, there is no round in the chamber. So we're good to go for cleaning this gun. Now with this gun, the slide catch is also your takedown pin. There's a slight little half moon groove in your slide where you're going to have to line up with a little lip that's just towards the back of your slide catch. This, all you need to do is bring back the slide a little bit. A lot of times I'll just take my thumb and grab the rest of the slide with my fingers, and I want to line up this little groove in there. Because then what I can do is I can then push the pin from the other side out. And to show you how easy it is, just push up, and your pin comes out. Now, with this gun, to take off the slide, you will have to depress the trigger. Of course, do it in a safe direction. But once you do, your frame and your slide should come right apart. Alright, so mainly we're going to be working on a lot of the slide components. First, we're going to take off our recoil spring and our guide rod. These are not compounded, so just be careful that they don't go flying all over the place. Easiest way is just take your finger, put it on the back, and hold on because that spring is a little tight, but it will come right out. As you can see, the guide rod and the recoil spring are two separate entities, but we'll get to those just as soon as we can get our barrel getting started. To get the barrel out, of course, you just want to go in from the ejection port, you just lift up, and then bring your barrel out at an angle. So what we want to do is get this barrel into some solvent, okay? Because you might not be able to see it on camera, but there is quite a bit of excess powder inside this barrel. So we definitely want to start getting that out. Easiest way is to do it with a lead, and then putting a patch basically on it. But an even easier way to do it, so you don't have to keep exchanging out different pieces to your cleaning rod, is just to take one of your cleaning swabs and wrap your brush with it. Just makes it a whole lot easier. You can still get your barrel coated, and of course saves you some time, and ultimately if you don't have one of those leads, okay, just helps you save money. So we just put a little bit of what I use is Hops Elite. Okay, it cleans down, removes carbon, lead, copper, and scent-free. It's actually a pretty good product. But just gonna go ahead and coat that barrel a little bit. Make sure that that'll sit in there for a little bit, so it'll start removing all those deposits. With that, we're just gonna set the barrel off to the side. Next thing we want to work on is our slide. Now, of course, when rounds are fired, you're going to have all different kinds of debris coming and blowing back inside your gun. Even so, even where part of your bolt will slide along other rounds to engage another, as you can see, there's some brass right on top of here and some copper. And we're going to try and work that out too. Easiest way, just take a little nylon brush. You can even use a toothbrush if you wanted to. But this just helps you, give it a little bit more of a scrub and a deep clean to, again, get all that excess material off. Now, I'm not going to use a lot, okay, just a little spray should all you do. As you can see a little white part here on the brush that just has just a slight bit of that solvent in there. I'm going to go through my slide rails, okay. I'm also going to scrub that area where it goes and crosses some of those other rounds that are in the magazine. I also want to get my bolt face. Okay, as you can see, there's brass and copper or an excess powder on there. A lot of times what I'll do, especially with a striker fire gun, is I'll turn it upside down. That way I'm not getting any kind of solvent inside of the striker fire system. But definitely give that a good scrubbing. Again, also this is where your extractor is. And there can be buildup behind this. And eventually, if you don't clean it, you're not going to have your rounds ejecting properly. And scrub a little bit on the inside of the slide too. Again, don't need to use too much. A little bit of that solvent will go a long way with the pistol. But now that we got that all set, we're just going to set this slide off to the side. Now, a lot of people like to use oil when working with their firearm. You honestly don't have to. It's not entirely necessary. Maybe in a very small amount, which I will use a little bit of small amount. When I use oil, I'll use Ballistol. Ballistol is a multi-purpose oil, and it does great for lubricating your pistols. But you don't need a lot. All you're going to need is literally just a small little spray like that. Okay, you don't want to have too much of this excess oil in your gun, okay, because then it's just going to attract more of that powder and dirt, which you're going to have to end up cleaning more later. But I'm just going to go over my guide rod, just make sure that it's lubricated and cleaned. As you can see, there's some of those deposits that are left on it. And then, of course, I'm going to go over my recoil spring too, just to get a little coating of oil and then to get any kind of deposits that might be left on this as well. Again, this oil just helps keep your gun lubricated, and it keeps it just safe from basically having to be replaced constantly. But now that we have a little bit of coating on the guide rod and on the recoil spring, we're going to still let that solvent sit based on the slide and on the barrel, but we are going to move on to our frame. Now, this is a polymer frame, and the slide rails are polymer, but it never hurts to put just a little bit of cleaner or solvent or a little bit of oil on these. I'm going to use the solvent just to make sure I get any of that excess grime off of there. But just go over the rail a little bit. Make sure that you get it so you can lift up any of those deposits. They get inside the gun, right where the trigger is. Okay, these metal parts will need to be cleaned. Okay, this is just going to be a field strip. You can take this gun down further, but it's not entirely necessary if, of course, you keep up with the maintenance of your gun. But that pretty much takes care of the frame. Another good place to clean is inside the mag well. There are no metal parts in here except for a little retention spring for the mag release, but it's not entirely necessary for this pistol. But what I want to do next is just wipe off any of that excess solvent, oil, because again, if that's just sitting in your gun, it's going to attract all that dirt, all that powder, anything that can come in contact with the pistol. Alright, and as you can see, even on polymer, it gets quite dirty. So, again, very important to wipe these things down. But now that we've pretty much coated everything, we're going to work from where we started. Okay, since the barrel's been sitting the longest, we're going to work with that. Just need yourself with a P40. There's a 9mm. I have a 9mm brush here, but I do have a 40 cal brush here. I'm going to just screw that on. And what I like to do is I don't ever like to go through the muzzle end of the gun. Of course, this is where your crown and this is where the end of your rifling is. So if this gets chipped or messed up in any sort of manner, especially when you're using, say, like a metal cleaning rod like this, or even, brass is a lot softer, but I find it most beneficial to just go in through the bore side. Again, since that solvent's been sitting in there, this brush should be able to lift up any of that excess that's on there. And of course, if you've let your gun sit for a long time, it is good to repeat cleaning your barrel, scrubbing, wiping down, scrubbing, wiping down. But if you just come from the range and you clean your gun every single time, just a couple swabs, that's all it really takes. And yeah, as I was telling you before, there was a lot of deposits in there, and it cleaned up quite nicely. You might not be able to see it on camera, but boy, this Hobbies Elite does wonders for lifting up that grime out of there. Now, of course, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the same thing before. I just want to get any of that excess cleaner out of there. So I'm going to wrap my brush in a swab. Just make sure you get all that excess stuff out of there. And as you can see, that's what we're taking out of your gun each time, or that's what's left in your gun each time you fire it. Yep, and we're good and clean as a whistle. Something else I'd like to mention, especially since the Kahr 40 does, you do need good ammo. A lot of times wad cutters have a hard time in this firearm, but it usually has to do with the feed ramp. Something you can do is just make sure that you do clean your feed ramp. So I'm going to take a little bit of solvent, again, just a tiny little bit, and make sure that I clean this whole area. Again, if there's any kind of buildup, it's just going to make it harder to even fire the gun. But other than that, your barrel is done. Okay. What we're going to move on to next is, of course, the slide. Now, again, we're just trying to wipe down any of that excess material, or any extra solvent that's in there. And make sure we get our bolt face where the extractor is too. Get all the slide rails. And again, this is why we clean our firearms. All that dirt and grime just came out of there. Alright, but other than that, I'm going to wipe down the frame, and this pistol is now ready to be put back together. So, we just have to work backwards. Alright, and actually before that, just for fun, we are going to put a little bit of oil on this gun. Again, just a slight bit. As you can see, just a little spray. Now I'm just going to touch up wherever there's going to be friction on the gun. Where the barrel meets the slide, on the slide rails. And again, it doesn't take a whole lot. And maybe we'll even wipe down the whole slide itself. Just get a nice little coating on it. And it'll just help protect from rust. If you are carrying this gun and it's touching your body, the natural oils and the sweat from you will rust the gun, but a little bit of oil will help protect it. I'll do the same thing with the barrel. Again, just a tiny bit of oil. Just enough to give a little film over this metal. And as you can see, it's still picking up stuff. All that powder fouling and carbon and all that else that's left in there. But yeah, now that that's done, we're going to put this thing back together. Of course, what you want to do is take your barrel first, your slide, insert your barrel at an angle, okay? Drop it in, but make sure you push it all the way back so it seats properly. Then take your guide rod and your spring. Now, make sure you note that this spring has a smaller end and then a larger end. The larger end is going to go onto the slide, okay? The smaller end is going to go onto your guide rod, okay? If you put the smaller end forward, there's a potential that it could come through this end of the slide, and then, of course, your gun's not going to be operable. But it does take a little bit of effort, but just make sure you guide it in. Give it a good little push. See, I'm even having trouble. Alright. There we go. Now, with this barrel, it doesn't have an exact groove that it can go into, so you just got to make sure that it is seated properly. You don't want it off to the side, like so. Okay, this is just going to make your gun a little, well, it probably will make your gun not even operable. But make sure that guide rod is straight on. Then, make sure your slide rails line up with your slide. Go ahead and put your slide back on. Now, with this, the easiest way is literally to insert the pin first, just slightly, okay? You want to grab that little barrel lug loop that's on the barrel, okay? This will allow you to now pull the slide back so you can line up this little lip. As you can see, it's a little shinier than the rest of that slide catch. With that half moon piece on the slide, just give it a good little push, and your car is now ready to carry or take back out to the range.
Thanks, Chase. As Chase mentioned, this is an extremely ergonomic firearm. It's pretty slim and it conceals really well. We're going to go over some features of the Kahr P40, starting from the top. As you can see here, we've got a 3-dot sight system. These are drift-on sights, and the slide is made from stainless steel. The sights are pretty heavy duty, actually so much so that you could rack it on your clothing if you needed to do a one-hand rack with this firearm. Like I said, the slide is stainless steel, and so is the barrel. One thing with this firearm, though, and it's good that it has aggressive slide serrations because it is a little bit stiff. That recoil spring is a little stiff, although it will break in over time. Moving on to the frame is the same width as the slide, giving it that ergonomic and good aesthetics to it. Really good for concealed carry. And the only thing that you have here on the frame, aside from the magazine release, is the slide catch, which also functions as the takedown pin. Moving down here to the grip itself isn't very aggressive on the sides, but here on the back strap and the front, you've got some texturing there that's similar to a Springfield XDS. The trigger is a little bit longer pull. Feels like a double action trigger, really. There's the brake, and the reset is pretty minimal. You don't feel it at all in the trigger. Moving on down to the magazine release, it's a small circle, so if you're used to something like a Glock, it's going to be a little bit smaller than what you're used to. For the magazine, you've got a 6+1 capacity, and from what we've heard, this firearm is a little bit choosy about what kind of ammunition you put through it. But you've got a slim single stack magazine here, with a little bit of a pinky extension there at the bottom. Overall, this is a great gun for concealed carry. It's slim in the profile, conceals really well, and it's fairly affordable. I hope this has helped you out. If you like this video and you want to see more videos like this, subscribe to our YouTube channel. We've always got more videos coming out with firearms care, cleaning, tips and tricks with firearms instruction and best concealed carry practices, as well as information on utilizing the entire line of Urban Carry products. You can find more information through our social media channels on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Just search Urban Carry Holsters, or by visiting our website, urbancarryholsters.com. That's all for the Kahr P40. Until next time, keep calm and return fire.